Joining the podcast is Eric Nix, who is my barber, and he's probably your barber too. He cuts just about everyone's haircut on this side of Birmingham, and he's the owner of Old 64 Barbershop. And I'd put him and his barbershop crew there. I'd put them up against anybody. Old 64 started out as just you, and then you added some guys. You had Sammy and Blaze. And tell me about the guys you got with you right now.
So yeah, we lost two barbers, went on to different career paths shortly after COVID. So now we have the guy that works next to me, Bryce J. He's a Gardendale guy, and Sammy is still with us, of course. And then Jason Roberts down on the end, also a Gardendale guy. I don't know how that happened. I got two Gardendale people in the shop, but that's where we're at. But yeah, they're both really solid barbers. And Bryce came through the same barber school that we did, and he was a former client of ours. And that's how he came about working with us. And Jason worked in Birmingham for about 15 years or so and wanted to get to a more traditional shop like ours. So that's kind of how he ended up with us.
So, what year is this for you as a barber overall?
Um, so the business in March will be open for 10 years. And I always count my barber college cutting experience. So with that included, I'm about 11 years in, probably cutting hair.
It seems like just yesterday I was coming in there to get the peach fuzz shaved off my face.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I was probably by myself at that point, wasn't I?
You were, yeah.
Yeah, so I worked a year and a half alone in the shop, and then Blaze joined me, and he worked with us for I guess about six or 8 years. I can't remember. I forget how long he's been gone. But yeah, he was with us for a very long time. And Sammy's been with us for probably that amount of time now.
Shout out Sammy Snow there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's crazy because I remember I think the first time I got a haircut there, I was in eighth grade, so that would have been 2013. So yeah, about 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy.
What made you want to become a barber? I know you kind of wanted to be your own boss and that kind of thing, but what made you gravitate toward being a barber specifically?
Yeah, working for myself was definitely probably the biggest driving force in that. And I came upon being a barber just from trying to find something that I could do like that was cool and something I could bring to this area that was needed and kind of could have a culture around it. And to me, the barbershop was a logical answer for that. So I knew if I was going to own a barbershop, I had to become a barber. So that's kind of where it came from, just wanting to work for myself and do something that I thought was cool for a living.
Well, walk me through the whole process of starting all of that up and, where the inspiration came from the name Old 64.
So the name is, as you may know, the Walker County tags have the 64 on them. We're the 64th county, however that falls. So I just really wanted to make a nod to the county, and kind of have it as this is the county's barbershop, and I just added the word old in there as a kind of like it's a throwback to the old style Walker County, maybe, I don't know. And the Jack Daniels old number 7 always sounded cool to me too, so that was part of it. But yeah, that's where the name came from. And what was the first part of your question? I'm sorry.
Just the whole process of getting your own barbershop started up.
Just actually starting it and everything. Yeah. So I went to barber college with the intent on opening a shop. I knew that I wanted to have my own shop that could be styled the way I want it and everything. So while I'm in barber school, I was weighing out the options of, do I go work somewhere else for a while? Do I just open my own place? And I just kept coming back to, I have to own my own shop. And I don't know that I would suggest that to everyone, because it was tough being a brand new barber and then going into a shop where you're the only person, which makes you also the most experienced person. And that's not saying a lot, because I was kind of right out of barber college, but I definitely learned more on the job than any of my schooling. Nothing against my schooling, because I went to a great barber college, but yeah, I just knew I needed to open my own shop and I needed to beat everyone to it. Was kind of why I settled here in Sumiton because I knew somebody either in Jasper or somewhere would come up with the idea of old school barbershop. So
Well,
that may or may not answer your question, but yeah.
no, that was perfect. I was gonna say, well, prior to going to barber college and knowing you wanted to be a barber and all of that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
what did you envision for yourself? If you couldn't be a barber, what would you be doing right now?
Um, I don't know, man. It's I don't know. I At the point I was just working a lot of different jobs. Um, and I was in a kind of a spot where I went to school a couple of times here and there, but I was trying not to waste my time on jobs I knew I wasn't going to keep. So I don't know what I would be doing, man, honestly, because I feel like this is just what I do and kind of who I am at this point. It's hard to imagine myself doing anything else, but I guess I would just be like everyone else and just do whatever job I could get and, make that work, I guess.
Well, I know you've cut just about every kind of haircut you can think of.
Right.
What is your favorite one to cut and why?
Um, Favorite hair to cut, um, from a technical standpoint would probably be like biracial hair. They tend to have the best of both ethnicities. The best texture, best it looks the best when it's cut. That's probably my favorite hair to cut, and there's exceptions to all that. Um, yeah, and then on the other side, the worst, is I don't know if there's a worse type of hair to cut, but cowlicks are rough. Your hair's tough for sure.
Yeah, I was about to just say, I know mine gives you a run for your money.
Yeah, but each each head kind of has its own challenges too, and that's one of the things you learn as you go on cutting hair. You learn the little tricks, and you learn to not get yourself in trouble on certain hairstyles or hair textures or whatever, because you can quickly, if you don't know what to look for, you can quickly cut something too short and you can't do anything with it, or that kind of thing.
Well, kind of playing off of that, have you ever cut somebody's hair and messed up and you're like thinking, oh man, how do I fix this?
um yeah, well, so yeah, I've made little mistakes on hair. I probably do that every day, but I've not. I can't think of anywhere I've just thought this is beyond what I can fix. I'm sure it's in barber school. Yes, constantly every day. But but yeah, as of recently running the business and being a professional barber, I just kind of, if there's a mistake, I know how to fix it and smooth it out. But really, most of your mistakes are going to be, they're not going to be stuff that's going to ruin the person's haircut. It's going to end up costing you more time, is really where the mistakes lie as you go on cutting hair.
Well, do you ever have someone come in for a haircut and as you're cutting their hair, you kind of notice maybe the person that cut them before them, you kind of notice their mistakes and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah, we see that a lot with new clients that have never been here. That definitely happens. We have people that will tell you straight up, "Hey, last guy jacked my hair up. You got to try to fix this," and you'll notice pretty quickly whether they tell you or not how bad it is.
Have
But
you
that
ever had
definitely,
anything that somebody said, hey, fix this? And you're like, man, I don't know.
yeah. I just had one of those recently. A good friend of mine's son, the the grandmother tried to do what she called a Patrick Mahomes haircut on him, and man, completely ruined it. There was, other than shaving his head, there was not a lot I could do. So I tried my best just to blend it out, and it looked better, but it definitely was still a jacked up haircut. That does happen a lot, yeah.
Well, I know, you go into barber school and just starting out, I'm sure that you've seen, kind of like we're talking about now, some crazy heads of hair and crazy requests and all that kind of stuff. But is there one experience maybe from barber college or old 64 just overall that sticks out in your mind that was just a crazy experience?
Man, that's a good question. There's not a lot that sticks out um, more than others. We have so many different characters that come in and everything. My last haircut I did at the barber college was interesting. The guy came in and he had essentially half of a haircut done. One side was long over the ears and all that, and the other side you can tell had been cut. And I was asking him what was going on with it. And he said that he was in the barber chair and his barber, who was an older barber, had a stroke in the middle of his haircut, literally.
Oh my God.
And did not finish his haircut. And he came to us like the day after it happened. And I fixed it for him. And that was my very last haircut I did at the barber college. So
You know,
I thought
you,
that was cool.
honestly, if I was walking down the street and I had a half haircut and someone kind of said something to me about it, I would be like, I think that's an excuse to have a half cut head of hair, man. My barber had
Yeah.
a stroke.
Yeah. Yeah. If that's not what happened, I would like to have known what happened because
Yeah,
it was
for
pretty
sure.
clearly he had started and not finished. It was pretty wild. And I'm talking half from left to right, not bottom to top too.
Man,
So
that's rough.
it was pretty wild.
Well, how did you end up, getting other barbers like Sammy and Blaze? How did you end up getting them involved? Was it you needed some help? Was it, just looking for some companionship? What was it?
So both of those for sure. I definitely needed help, and I was bored to death in here by myself. Um, but Blaze, funny enough, he was my client at the barber college when I cut there. And when I opened the shop, he was one of my first clients here. He followed me to this shop. And after cutting his hair for a few months or whatever, a couple, maybe not even that long, maybe about a month here at the shop, he talked to me about starting barber college himself. And I, of course, encouraged it, because I could have some help. And me and him got along real well. So he went to barber college. And then as soon as he got done, he went to work for me. And Sammy, excuse me, I don't know if you know this or not, but Sammy is my wife's first cousin. So me and Sammy are kind of family already.
I didn't know
And
that.
yeah, he and my wife look a lot alike, unfortunately, too. And that's kind of weird, but but yeah, they're first cousins. So I already knew Sammy, of course, and he he was kind of at a position where I was at. He wasn't doing any jobs that he could see as a long term career, and was kind of miserable in that life. So he had talked to me previously about going to barber college, and I encouraged it, but he couldn't at that time. That was while I was in barber college. He couldn't get away from his job, but he had just become, after I was open for I guess a couple of years, he had just become unemployed, or he was wanting to leave his job, something like that. I can't remember. And he talked about it again, and I said, well, yeah, come work with us, and I'll apprentice you and get your license under me. And he talked to his wife about it, and yeah, got her blessing, luckily, because he was going to be without money for a while. And yeah, he came to work for me, and he came to apprentice with me, and that lasted about a year and a half, 2 years, and he's been a full time barber ever since, and a very good one at that too. So I think I like to say I had a hand in how good he is, but he's evolved a lot on his own since that apprenticeship for sure.
Oh yeah, well, learn from the best. I mean, you got to be pretty good.
I
Um,
like to think so. Yeah.
well, I know it seemed like right when you started opening the shop back in 2013, it seemed like, it was the place to go from the get-go. Did you anticipate so much success for Old 64 early on?
I did not. I knew it was a good idea opening a shop. I felt that. I knew it was a good idea, and I knew I could probably make a living doing it. And that's all I thought. I thought, well, I'll be able to help my wife pay bills at best. But man, it just exploded. My first month to my third month, I tell people all the time, my numbers tripled in those first 3 months. My client list did, and then it just continued to do that over the months and then into the years. And so, no, I didn't anticipate that. I didn't anticipate that 10 years later, almost, that it would still be growing and have a full client list, and full schedule every single day, and people waiting to get in. I didn't anticipate that. No.
Well, to wrap this up, what do you think makes Old 64 special from other barbershops?
Um, from my personal view of it, I think we are one of the few true old school barbershops. Um, it Barbering almost became a fad a few years back, and a lot of shops didn't recover from that because they I don't know, maybe they weren't true to the craft or whatever it is. But you come here and it's going to be a good time. You're going to get a reasonably quick haircut, but a good one. We're going to get you in and out. If you want to hang out, you can do that, but you're going to be able to cut up, have a good time. You're unlike a lot of other shops now, unfortunately, you're not going to have a light ring and a camera pointed at you while you get your haircut. We're not trying to be famous on social media or anything like that. We're just a barbershop doing the craft that we know. And we're not taking it too serious. We're not trying to be Instagram or TikTok famous or anything. We're just cutting hair, and we don't take things too serious other than your haircut. And I think that kind of sets us apart from a lot of shops now. And there still are several shops like us, but we are kind of a rare breed, I would say, in that aspect.
Well, I know there's several good barbershops out there, but I will only be going to Old 64. But Eric, it's getting time. Speaking of, it's getting time for me to get a cut, so I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon. But I appreciate you
Yes,
taking
sir.
the time to be on the podcast.
Anytime, man. I really appreciate you doing this. It's been cool, man.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
All right, take it easy.